Welcome to the Redeeming Stories podcast, a space where we hold honest conversations about healing, resilience, and the ways our hardest seasons can become the very thread that shape our purpose. I'm your host, Julie M. Lane from at Redeem Thyself and at Seven Petals. And today I'm actually with you from the small, tiny town of Livingston, Montana. And not my usual spot, but I am grateful that Pamela was able to join me here today. And we're here to explore what it means to reclaim our worth, move forward with intention, and allow our stories to be woven into something meaningful. Today, I'm joined by Pamela Zimmer, an author, speaker, coach, and retreat leader whose work is rooted in one powerful truth. Self-care is not selfish. It is foundational. Pamela's journey into this work was not theoretical. After the birth of her children, she experienced 6 years of postpartum depression, a season that reshaped her understanding of worth, capacity, and what it truly means to care for oneself. That difficult chapter eventually became the springboard for the work she now does, helping others build lives rooted in physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Pamela believes leadership begins with the self, and that we cannot fully live into the purpose God has for us if we are depleted, disconnected, or running on empty. In today's conversation, we'll explore the reality of postpartum depression, the deeper meaning of self-care, and how tending to ourselves can become an act of leadership, faith, and redemption. This is the Redeeming Stories podcast, and today we're talking about the courage it takes to care for self and the purpose that can grow from it. Pamela, welcome.
Thank you, Julie. I'm really excited to be here today.
You mind sharing just a little bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Like you mentioned, I have quite the little story journey. But before that part of the story started that you shared, I was actually an architect for 13 years. I owned my own firm for half of that time. So 6.5, almost 7 years, I owned my own firm. Always wanted to be an architect. Like my dad was an engineer and he was very career focused. Always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom like my mom. She was a nurse, but she was home with us when we were younger. I have one older sister. And I just kind of went on the career path first because that's where life took me. And when I finally met my husband and we got married and it was time to start a family, we had our first son, Zachary, who's now 18, which is crazy. He's a freshman in college here in Reno. But I remember feeling like, oh, this is what motherhood is. And I think for me, that was kind of the start of what we now label and call postpartum depression. But I had gone through a lot. My mom had passed away. It was during the recession. My husband was out of a job. We went through bankruptcy. We ended up losing our home. Long story short, I ended up closing my business. We moved to Reno. So all of these things just kind of contributed to this mental, emotional breakdown. And then the hormones of having birth just kind of kicked me over the edge. And here I was, this new mom in postpartum depression. I didn't know it with Zachary. I went almost 3 years before I was diagnosed with it. And it wasn't until Braden, our second son, was 4 months old that I was diagnosed. And then looking back, like, oh, that's what that was. So that feeling of like, oh, this is motherhood. I guess this is it. Um, there was an explanation for that. And as you mentioned, my work isn't theoretical. It's based on experience, and that experience, those 6 years, shaped me and taught me a lot about self-care. And now that's the foundation of everything that I do.
Wonderful. Thank you. What was that season like for you during postpartum depression as a young mom with two little ones? And how did it begin to shift your understanding of self-care?
Yeah. I remember just feeling very withdrawn and isolated. I didn't want to do anything. I remember things that would bring me joy, people that would bring me joy, I didn't wanna do those things anymore. I didn't wanna talk to anyone, I didn't wanna go anywhere, I mean, I didn't even wanna get out of bed and get dressed. The thing that kept me going was nursing Braden at the time. So m Our boys are 2 years, 9 months apart, so our oldest one, Zach, was in preschool or daycare. I think it was more daycare at that time. Because I just couldn't manage. I felt like here I have everything that I asked for. A loving husband, 2 beautiful, healthy boys. I was at that point, I had given up my career to stay home, so I got what I asked for to be a stay-at-home mom, but I wasn't happy. And I felt so guilty for that. How could I not be happy when I have everything that I asked for? Um, so it was really hard. It was hard to kind of go through this robotic, go through the motions kind of thing as a new mom. And once we got that diagnosis, it actually was sort of a relief because it was halfway into my motherhood journey at that time. And it was a relief because now it was, oh, now there is something. There's something, there's a label, whatever, whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. There was something that we could work towards and attack and battle and work through. So it actually, that was the turning point, I think, for me when I got that diagnosis and realized, okay, it isn't just me. But it still took a long time for me to find myself again. And I remember having, friends reach out and some of them said some helpful things and some of them not so much. But it was really just kind of every day choosing to do something to get back to the Pamela that was inside, that was kind of buried. And I was on antidepressants for a while. And I think there's a time and a place for everything like that. That's an individual discussion that I believe everyone needs to have with their care provider. And for me, it's what helped me sort of clear the fog of my brain, and allow me to see, oh, there she is in there. She's in there. Like, let's dig in there and find her again. And I remember when the fog started to clear and I was finding myself again, and I was like, wow, um, I need to do something to keep this person, to keep the Pamela that was before pregnancy and before postpartum depression and everything. I don't you know, I don't know if there was a moment where I realized I need to focus on self-care, because back then it was still this little, buzzword like, "Oh, self-care. Oh, you got a massage this month. You did some self-care." And the more I dove into it, the more I really realized, like, it's more than just a massage. It's more than just the every so often things, but it's nourishing me and it's taking a shower and putting on clean clothes. And I realized if I can dress in clean clothes and feel good on the outside, it started to help me feel good on the inside. And so I just started to connect the dots and work towards that. And I don't know if that's answering your question. I'm kind of
No, no, you're
going off.
fine, totally fine. I was reflecting on, so often people don't want labels, and because we don't want to be defined by our label, and we never should. Having been in the special education field for so long, I can't tell you how many children appreciated finally having a label, because then they knew there wasn't, they weren't dumb, or there wasn't something they weren't doing to be more successful in their schooling. And I think even for me, for my label of complex PTSD, it's it's brought um, validity to the fact that I have experienced trauma throughout my life, and maybe it isn't this little tiny molehill that I keep thinking it needs to be. That it really is a mountain that I have to learn how to climb.
Yeah.
So no,
Yeah.
you're spot on. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. Tell me a bit about, um, when we're, I know we have lots of mothers who listen. self care can feel unrealistic or even selfish. And I know I struggle with that tremendously. And my self care, I have a tendency to keep very private and I don't tell anybody about it because I'm still trying to learn that I do get to take up space and that I do matter. What did you have, or what did you do to unlearn what self care looked like and what self care should look like during your healing journey?
Yeah, bottom line, I just realized that if I wanted to be the mom that I wanted to be, which is why I became a stay-at-home mom, I had to take care of myself. Because if I wasn't healthy, if I wasn't at my best, I couldn't be the best mom I wanted to be. So I started to reframe it, and I worked through a lot of guilt. I mean, I had years of guilt, and that was probably the biggest thing for me that I had to fight off during the postpartum depression was the guilt, like, "Why me? What's wrong with me?" All of that, and so, again, having that label helped me define it and research and study and all that stuff and realizing that it wasn't anything I was doing. Depression doesn't discriminate, it just happened. And so that helped me kick some of the guilt out of, "Well, I did this to myself." No, I didn't. This is just what I'm going through. But realizing that if I wanna be there for my kids, if I want them to have a mom that is happy and engaged and sitting on the floor playing with them and remembering things, I still have memory blanks, from the time when Zach was a real little infant because I was back at work, my husband was the stay-at-home parent, and I don't remember certain things, and it makes me sad, to not know those things. The Olympics are on right now, and he said, "Yeah, remember when, Zach would be tummy time on the ottoman?" And, no, I can't picture it, I can't visually grasp it in my mind, it's like it's blocked. But going back to the question of what I did, it was really fighting the guilt. And I will say this to every single mom, I still have guilt sometimes. It doesn't go away. It just changes as our kids grow and as life evolves and life happens around us, the guilt just takes a different form. But I will say this, the airlines don't lie when they say put your oxygen mask on first. We we have to put our oxygen mask on first, no question, because when I'm taking care of me, I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm a better friend, I'm a better business owner, I'm a better member of society, and the list goes on and on and on. So, really just addressing the guilt, and I have a saying that, I tell my clients, and it's, "I'm taking care of" how no, how do I phrase it? I phrase it like this: "I love you, so I am taking care of me." And that sort of helps reframe the reason I am stepping away and doing something for myself, whatever that self-care moment looks like for me, is because I love you, and I wanna show up as the best version of me for you. So I love you, so I'm taking care of me.
I'm gonna have to ponder that one. I think with you, I come up to Montana where I used to live. I have an amazing therapist up here, and I come up for 1 or 2 week intensives, and then I move back home and put these new tools to use to grow. And that's something that we're working on right now is allowing myself to be worthy and me to know it and me to find happiness within myself instead of always searching for it elsewhere. So I'm going to have to ponder that thought because I do struggle with guilt. And even though my daughters are grown, have families of their own, I did my job in raising them well. They have wonderful husbands. They don't need me as much anymore. But that doesn't mean that I can't or I shouldn't still show up as much as I did when I was actually raising them. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Uh, you often talk about self care as something that supports every area of life: physical, emotional, spiritual, and even financial. How did you come to see a self care as a foundation rather than an afterthought?
Um, it just goes back to what I was saying, that if I wanna be the best version of me in whatever capacity I am at the moment, whether that's with my mom hat, my wife hat, my business CEO, entrepreneur hat, I have to show up as the best, and that means filling myself up. And yes, it's the cliche, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So it is my responsibility to take care of myself. And I think we often hear the word self-care and we immediately think, oh, the physical. Oh, I'm going to go get a massage. Oh, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to, eat healthy. Those are all those stereotypical surface level practices, which are great. We need them. Everyone needs them. I'm not always good at them, but everyone needs them. But then there's also mental self care, which is what we put inside here, our minds. Like, who are we listening to? What are we listening to? What are we watching? What are we reading? What are the voices that we're allowing to influence us? Are we getting sucked into all the negative stuff that's happening, or are we surrounding ourselves with people who are encouraging us and believing in us and telling us the truth, like we're worthy and giving us permission to go after our dreams and to take care of ourselves and to tell us don't feel guilty for practicing your self-care. TV shows, music, the list goes on, podcasts like this one, uplifting, something positive. And then the emotional self-care is part of it too. Emotional and spiritual, those are kind of connected. Like for me, that's God and Jesus, and knowing that He fills me up and I get my sufficiency and my worthiness from Him and no one else. And there's something bigger than just me in this world doing my little work. And then financial is one that I've added recently, and that one is because when we are financially healthy, we can be generous, which can bring joy not only to us as the giver, but to the receiver. We can pay for extra experiences. We can pay for healthcare that might be out of the normal box. Maybe we want to go see an alternative provider or practitioner or get a massage every week or every month. Those things cost money. And so when we are financially healthy and taking care of that aspect of our self care, we can afford to do those things. And again, it's not just about money. I believe that good people with good money can do good things. And so it's giving back too. God calls us to take care of our people and to be generous and to serve and all of that. And so it's all works together. If I am unhealthy and don't have the money to care for my health, that's not going to do anyone any good. So really the self-care that I like to talk about is all encompassing, and it does start with self because again, whether I'm leading my family as a mom, whether I'm leading my team or my company as a CEO or an entrepreneur, whether I'm leading a community nonprofit event, whatever it is, I have to make sure that I'm at my best. And it is, again, my responsibility to take care of myself so that I can go do what God is calling me to do.
That's great. I was thinking, I'm so passionate about the calling I feel God has placed on my heart. Yet at the same time, I don't allow myself to feel it. And part of that feeling it is taking care of myself, my physical self, and being able to be filled with that joy that I know is there in that purpose. So that's that self-care that I don't think we really think about. Like you said, it's massages, it's getting a pedicure. It's being a couch potato all day on a Saturday and binge watching our favorite show.
Right.
Yeah, and the depth and the breadth at which self-care really does occur. Uh, it takes work. It
It
takes work
does,
to do
it
that.
does. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a practice, and I think a lot of times we're scared to be quiet with ourselves too, because then we have to listen and address all the things, the thoughts and everything, and I think being quiet is the best time of all because that's when we can hear from God, and that's where He can direct us and help fill us up and help pour back into that worthiness cup that sometimes we empty ourselves because we're just so stuck in comparing and all the other stuff out there in the world.
So, no, you're absolutely correct. So since we're talking about, how God calls us each to a purpose and that caring for ourselves is part of honoring that calling, how do you in your own life, how do you see faith and self-care intersecting on a daily basis?
Great question. I start every single morning with God, regardless of where I am. Well, maybe coffee first, but God, God is right there with my coffee. So we cozy up together, um, and I feel like it's a habit now for me, and it's a boundary that my family knows. Like, oh, mom's on the couch, she's got her feet up, she's got her Bible app open, she's doing her daily devotional. Like, don't bother her unless it's an emergency. So for me, it's starting my day with God, praying. I pray throughout the day. Um, he gives me the confidence that I need to go through my day. He is my sounding board. He's everything. And I think knowing that even Jesus took time out of his busy day healing thousands of people, and he went off by himself. He went and he sought solitude with his father, and he made sure that he was taking care of himself so that he could go do the work that he was put on this planet to do, which was to heal and be our savior. And so if Jesus could take time away, well, then so can I.
Thank you. So, one last question for you, Pamela. Um, you said that you've recently defined your work to focus more on leadership. What does it mean to you when you say that leadership starts with self?
Yeah, so I started to touch on that. I think it just means that if I want to show up in the world in a way that God is calling me to be, then I have to, one, walk my talk. So if God's calling me to be an advocate for self care, not selfishly, but as a foundation, then I have to, one, walk my talk. And two, I think I got caught up in the whole, busy and hustle society and mentality. And I came to a realization after, self care for me is a daily practice, and I have to remind myself of that. But I got to this point where I was just feeling burnt out and overwhelmed and exhausted and fatigued, and I couldn't do anymore. I couldn't physically or mentally manage anything else. So, how is that being a good leader? Who wants to follow someone that's burnt out and frustrated and, the patience level is up here? Again, whether that's leading my family, leading my team and my business, leading a cause that I'm passionate about outside of my home, I have to take care of myself. And I think as leaders too, it's our responsibility that we do the things that fill us up, because life isn't just about work. It's that saying, who dies and says they wish they worked more hours, right? It's about love, and it's about making people feel like they matter, and connection, and helping people feel seen and known. And if I'm so burnt out over here that I can hardly function, that's not being the best disciple for love and God and Jesus and everything like that. So no matter what position you're in, whether you are a stay-at-home mom or you're a C-suite executive, it is our duty to take care of ourselves, because also this is a vessel. This is a vessel that I am borrowing, and it is my responsibility to take care of it. And again, I'm not the best at it. I'm practicing that every day, and it's a recommitment every day to, you know, eat right and exercise and move and do all the things that we know up here that we're supposed to do. Um, but I think it really starts with self, because I'm only in control of me. I can't control how anyone else reacts or responds, but I can control me. And if I'm filled up, I'm going to be more calm. I'm going to be more productive. I'm going to be more peaceful. I'm going to be able to handle adversity or challenges that get thrown at me. And all of that happens when we take care of ourselves by doing the things that fill us up.
Thank you. Pamela, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience today?
I just want to let everyone know, kind of my tagline that self-care isn't selfish, it's essential, and it really is the foundation for everything that we do. I would love to connect if your audience wants to find me. I know you'll share that. But it was such a great time chatting with you today. Thank you for having me, and allowing me to share a little bit of my journey with you.
Very welcome, and thank you, Pamela. I was just so delighted when I got to meet you at the Tapestry Network event a few weeks ago, and your care and your kindness to me after me sharing my testimony and where I've been in life. So I am grateful that you were here today.
Yes. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So, as we close this conversation today, I'm reminded that self care, as Pamela has said, is not about indulgence, it's about stewardship. Pamela's story reflects something that we hold deeply at Redeem Thyself, that healing begins when we stop abandoning ourselves and start tending to what God has entrusted, and how He has entrusted us with our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and our lives. And through the rhythm at Seven Petals, we're reminded that growth happens step by step, practice by practice. Self care is not a destination, it's a rhythm, a discipline, and sometimes an act of quiet courage. If you're listening and feeling depleted, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin, let this be your permission to start small. Caring for yourself is not selfish, it's sacred. So, Pamela, thank you for your honesty, your heart, and the reminder that leadership truly begins within. And thank you to our listeners for sharing this space with us. Until next time, this is the Redeeming Story podcast. May you continue reclaiming your worth, caring for yourself with compassion, and stepping into the purpose that is still being woven through your story. Until next time, I'm Julie M. Lane, and thank you for being here.